A special thank you to each of our subscribers who make this channel possible. Here's today's story. In a crucial meeting taking place in Brussels, the European Union is seeking urgent updates from Israel regarding the implementation of a new humanitarian aid deal for Gaza. This initiative, largely spearheaded by Kaja Kallas, the EU's foreign policy chief, aims to alleviate the suffering of the 2.3 million residents in the coastal enclave, who have endured over 21 months of relentless conflict. The situation on the ground remains dire, with calls for immediate action and a ceasefire echoing throughout the discussions. Kallas emphasized that while a common understanding has been reached with Israel to improve conditions in Gaza, the focus must shift from mere agreements to tangible results on the ground. As long as it hasn't really improved, then we haven't all done enough, she stated, underscoring the urgency of the situation. The meeting of the EU's 27 member nations comes in the wake of a new aid deal that was agreed upon last week, permitting much-needed food and fuel to enter Gaza. Israeli Foreign Minister Gideon Sa'ar met with EU leaders to discuss the specifics of the deal, which is seen as a significant step forward amidst ongoing violence. However, Kallas and other EU officials are acutely aware that the humanitarian crisis is far from resolved. Reports indicate that at least 61 people were killed in Israeli attacks in Gaza, including aid seekers, as malnutrition rates among children continue to rise. The United Nations Agency for Palestinian Refugees, UNRWA, has raised alarms over the escalating malnutrition crisis, describing it as engineered and man-made. The dire circumstances have prompted EU foreign ministers to deliberate on potential actions against Israel, particularly in light of findings that suggest Israel's actions may violate human rights obligations outlined in the EU's cooperation agreements. Kallas has proposed 10 potential measures, ranging from suspending trade agreements to imposing sanctions on Israeli officials. Despite the growing urgency, EU states remain divided on how to proceed, with some nations advocating for a reassessment of ties with Israel in light of the ongoing humanitarian crisis. The meeting in Brussels has also seen calls for a ceasefire, as the humanitarian situation continues to deteriorate. As the EU prepares to monitor the implementation of the aid deal, there is a collective hope that the situation in Gaza will improve. However, the reality on the ground remains grim, with reports of forced displacements and ongoing airstrikes. The situation is chaotic, with residents fleeing areas of northern Gaza amid fears for their safety. The EU's response to the crisis will be closely watched, as public pressure mounts for decisive action to address the humanitarian needs of the Palestinian people. Kallas has pledged to update EU member states every 2 weeks on the progress of aid delivery to Gaza, emphasizing the need for transparency and accountability in the implementation of the deal. The humanitarian crisis in Gaza is a complex issue that requires urgent attention, and the EU's actions in the coming weeks will be critical in determining the future of the region. As protests continue across Europe, calling for stronger actions against Israel, the international community remains hopeful that a resolution can be found to end the suffering of those in Gaza. That's all for this story. We upload videos every day covering many different subjects, so hit that subscribe button to stay informed. Thanks for watching.